Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Channel of Robots. Today I'll be answering a question by Steve, who was posted on the Roborealm forum. He wants to know how to draw a line on a black object being tracked on a white background using the line module within Roborealm, but he wants to do it using the programming rather than using the mouse. Hopefully I've understood Steve's question correctly, and so let's get started and start up Roborealm. So Steve will be tracking a black object on a white background, so I'll have to recreate that scenario. So I'll use the auto threshold module and just leave it on cluster. Click OK, and we've got some other objects being tracked on the edges. So we'll have to get rid of that. But first, Roborealm tracks white objects rather than black objects. So we'll have to invert this image that we have here. So we'll use the negative module, and now we have a white object to be tracked. To get rid of this top object, which is the edge of my table here, I'll just be going into blobs and tracking the one largest blob, which is the object that I have here. So blob size, and track the one largest object. Click OK. So now we've eliminated that. Now hopefully this should be something similar to what Steve wants to work on. So from here we want to know the highest point on this object here, or that's what I understood from it. Either way, I'll be tracking all the highest, the lowest, the leftmost, and the rightmost, just in case. So Steve, you can choose the one that you wanted to draw the line on. If you go into point features and point location, you'll come up with this dialog. So I'll be tracking the rightmost middle point and the highest middle point, the leftmost middle, and the lowest middle. So here you can see 4 points. Maybe you can't see on the video, but there's 4 points on the edges of our object now. If I rotate the object, still the highest point, the lowest point, rightmost and leftmost points. So next we want to be able to draw a line. The line that you've said, Steve, on the forum, you want it to be 150 pixels long. I'm guessing this is from the center of the object, and 75 pixels either side. So I'll be using the center of gravity module. So center of gravity, and just remove the bounding box and the coordinates. All we need to know is the actual center of gravity. So here's where the magic happens. We'll be using VB script. This is probably what you wanted most of all, Steve. So if you type in VB script, and in Roborealm, it doesn't allow you to manipulate the variables directly. You have to assign them to another variable, and then you can manipulate them. This is probably to stop you doing something that you didn't want to do. So if we type in COGX, which is the center of gravity at the X location, is equal to get variable and the name of the variable, which is COG_X. So I'm going to be using this to measure the 75 pixels either side of the center of the object to draw the line. So the start of the line I'll be calling line start. So we need to set that as a variable. So set variable, and then the name of the variable, which is line start, comma, and then the value. The value that we'll be assigning to this is COGX, which is the one that we just made. It starts minus 75 pixels. So COGX minus 75 pixels. If we wanted to check that, we can reload and run there, and you can see line starts at 58 pixels. So if we move that, now it's line starting at a much larger number. Next we need the line end, which is pretty much the same as the top line there. I'll just copy that over and change that to line end. And this time it'll be plus 75 pixels. Next, Steve, you wanted to draw the highest, or measuring the point from the top. So we'll extract the data, which is the highest point that's being tracked at the moment. So we'll assign that to another variable called highest is equal to get variable. And the way that you know which variable it is, if you look down here, available variables. So if you scroll through that, you'll be able to see highest middle x and highest middle y. The one that we want is highest middle y. So if we type that in, highest middle y, and now you'll be able to manipulate it in your code, whether you wanted to add a value to it or just extract it and send it somewhere else, or write it on the screen somewhere. So you can make it into a variable. So set variable highest point, I'll be calling it, and then comma, and the value of it is highest, which is what we got up from here, what we got from up there. If we reload and run, we'll see that we have our three variables that we've set, which is the line start, line end, and the highest point. Click OK and we'll get rid of that. Next we want to actually draw the line physically. So drawing the line, you go into display and draw a line. Instead of using a static line or drawing a line using the mouse, we'll go into a variable line, x start using our line start, which is the variable that we made. That should be in the list now, and x end is line end, another variable that we made. The y start is the highest point that we wanted, which is the highest middle y, and it should end at the same place as well, since it's a straight horizontal line from what I understood in the forum post. So highest middle y again, and click OK. So now we have a line that's 150 pixels long, and it's tracking it's stuck pretty much to the highest point of that object. If you'll excuse my hand destroying it a bit there, but every time we move the object, the highest point is having a line drawn to it. I hope that's what you wanted to do, Steve, and if it's not, just reply to that forum post again and we'll see if we can help you out any further. Thanks for posting the question. I really enjoyed using this program and trying to figure out how to do this. As Steven always says on the forum, there's multiple ways of doing things in Roborealm. There's no right or wrong way. For me, this is an easier way of doing it rather than the histogram method that you wanted to use. But if you find that method works better for you, go on ahead and use it. I'd love to know how your results come out in the end as well. And thank you again for posting the question.